Hello, everyone, and welcome to For the Girls with Becca Moore. Thank you guys so much for your patience. It's been 3 weeks since I posted an episode, and I think from the title you can kind of tell maybe why. Sadly, no, the title is not clickbait. And it's so annoying that it's not. So from now on, these episodes will be posted at a normal, regulated time every week. And that is because today I signed with a podcast network. I signed with Studio 71 today. We have been in talks with them for a full year now, which is insane. And yeah, now we finally got everything signed. And so I am not going anywhere. I will be podcasting for at least the next year until my contract runs out. And I'm so happy. It's been a long time coming. And I think that you guys will enjoy like the more solid schedule, I guess, and predictability. But yeah, this is gonna be awesome. I'm so excited. Obviously, this is a different background. This is not the background that's gonna be here. It's because I moved and I'm in the process of unpacking everything, and the studio will be done hopefully in the next couple weeks. But my life has just been crazy. It's been a whirlwind the past like 3 weeks. So I don't even know where to start. I feel like this episode's definitely going to be a wild ride. If I had recorded this any sooner, I think it would have been a much different episode. Also, I had an episode with Gabby Windy recorded and edited and ready to go, but then I got robbed that night. So that episode is going to be up next week. But yeah, that was put on hiatus. And I'm going to like edit the intro. It's so funny. Like the intro is me just like complaining about things that absolutely did not matter for I think like 11 minutes straight. And that I had no idea that I was about to get robbed a couple hours after I recorded that. And it just really puts things into perspective for you when your safety gets threatened and when you don't, like, you can't believe that that you're alive, kind of. Like, I know, okay, I don't even know where to start. And yeah, I'm filming this at night. Spoiler alert, nighttime was hard for me before I got robbed, and now it is harder for me. Like, literally, why am I crying? I feel like this is so ridiculous to cry about. But it just scares me now to, like, go to bed, I guess. And it's just annoying. Complaining time. It's just a little bit annoying because that was already, like, something that, I was just always so afraid to not be able to sleep at night. And now it's just, like, harder to sleep. So, I think that maybe sometimes life kind of just like throws you a curveball in order to like get over your fears. And so I just kind of have to like surrender to that and be like, okay, well, this is just a challenge and I'm going to be okay, because I was okay and that night. So this night's going to be okay too. And every night after this, and no matter what, like, I'm going to be okay, because a lot of people have it a lot worse. And the fact that I'm alive is like, I just have to be thankful for that. And my cat is okay. Yeah, like there could have been a time that I wasn't that lucky, or that like something scarier could have happened. So I don't understand why that had to happen, but I'm just kind of like rolling with the punches, I guess. So I think to tell this story, I do have to give full context in order for you guys to like get into my mind and like just to take you on this ride with me. So I'm just gonna be giving you some details that like might feel irrelevant or like kind of like adjacent to the story or like a side quest thing, but like I just think this story is just so crazy that I have to tell the whole thing. So I guess I'll just start now, because really there's nothing else big in my life to talk about, like, at all. So, and by the way, I've missed talking to you guys so much. I talk to you guys in my head all the time. Yeah, so this is just, I missed podcasting so much, especially in this crazy time of my life. I'm like, oh my God. So 3 weeks ago, I recorded a podcast, again, complaining about random other things in my life. Mostly that I was like heartbroken, and I think I was finishing off my like 22nd day of no contact and just like struggling through it, but like honestly like doing kind of well and like powering through. And 22 days of no contact with my ex, and I was just so sad about it. Like it's not something that I wanted to be going through at all. So I just like went through my day. So I go to my acting class. I come home. It's like around 11 p.m. Oh my God. I start doing the dishes and I'm like loudly doing them. I'm watching an OJ Simpson documentary on Netflix, which is ironic now. By the way, I haven't like gone to this night in my mind in full detail. Since then, I've told this story so many times, but like I don't go full in depth. So I think like I'm gonna be like flashing back in my mind. And I apologize. If you don't like dramatic episodes, please just get off of this one because it's just like, okay, so I'm doing the dishes and I'm watching OJ and then I'm like getting like creeped out by the OJ thing. And I'm loudly doing the dishes. All the lights are on. Bear Bear's sitting next to me while I'm doing the dishes. I hear a loud like swoosh, swoosh, and immediately I was like, that's my back door. I've never heard my back door open. I've never used my back door. It's goes to a cement and a wall, and it's been locked the entire time I've lived in my apartment. I've opened it one time when my ex was like decorating that room for me. She like opened it and we locked it. I never opened that door, but it just sounded like a back door was like swooshing open. There was wind, and then the door closed. And I immediately knew that someone came into my apartment. So I ran out barefoot. And I ran out of my apartment barefoot. I grabbed my phone on the table, and that's I don't look behind me. I just like keep walking straight. In my head, I'm like, oh, it's a landlord or something. But then I'm like, it's 11 at night. Why would my landlord be coming into my apartment at 11 at night? Why would they come into the back door? I don't know. I walk out the door. I'm barefoot. I'm holding my phone. I leave. I knock on my neighbor's door. I have so much adrenaline. My neighbor isn't answering. And it's like 11 and my neighbors go to bed. I'm friends with them, but they go to bed early. And they're like in a different phase of life than I am. Like they are like very rational, go to bed at like 11 p.m. kind of people. So then I'm like, oh my God, they're not gonna be awake. I need to call my ex. Because it's 11, who's awake? I don't know any of my other neighbors. And my ex, I can go to her house. Why? I don't know. But like that just felt like she was just like my safe person. Even though we had done, when you're like, someone was breaking into my house. I called my ex-girlfriend, okay? So I called her and then she doesn't answer. And then I remember, oh my God, my ex is in New York. I knew that she was in New York. I saw her on other people's stories in New York. It's like 2 a.m. New York time. And then I was like, all of a sudden, reality kind of hit me. And I was like, wait, this is crazy. I broke 22 days of no contact to call my ex-girlfriend. Then I remember, while the phone is ringing, that my ex-girlfriend's in New York. So now it just looks like, by the way, it's a Monday night. So now it's just like, it looks like I'm like drunk calling someone, my ex-girlfriend who hasn't heard from me in 22 days. So I walk around the side of the house to be like, to see if my back door was open. And it's a complex of like lofts. Like it's like there's a gate with like a code, but it's like a complex of like condo kind of lofts, not really condos, but like kind of, I don't know. I walked around the side of the house to see what was there, and a man on a bike with a backpack walked past me and said, "Good night," and then kept walking. And I didn't say anything back to him. I was barefoot, and I was like, this man's probably gonna think I'm crazy. I'm literally barefoot. I just have to look normal. But that kind of did give me like chills when he was like talking to me. But he was coming from the opposite direction, so I just assumed it was a random man walking. I walk around, and to look at my back door, I look at my back door, and which is also through a gate, but you can see through the gate. My door's closed. So then I walk back around. All of a sudden, my neighbor opens his door And he's like, Becca. And I was like, the second I saw my neighbor, I was like, oh my God, I'm being crazy. Um, I I think someone just came into my house. The back door opened and closed. I think it just sounded like that. And then I started just being like, kind of like laughing because I was like, this is crazy. My back door was closed. Like, I'm being crazy. And he was like, okay, how about I just come in and I'll look around? And I was like, yeah, but like, this is immediately like, you just start being like, this doesn't like, the door was closed. There's like a code to get in. He, like, he's gonna think I'm like a dramatic little girl. He grabs like a machete or something, but we're laughing, and we go in to my apartment, and we look around, not very hard, but enough to be like, I don't think anyone's in here. We didn't look in any closets or anything, but like, so and he was like, are all the doors locked? I checked the lock on the back door. It was locked. And that part really freaks me out. Still. So I just felt embarrassed that I made my neighbor like look around my apartment, and like he probably was asleep or something. And so I was like, I'm so sorry. Like, and then you just feel like the shame of like being a dramatic girl kind of. And you're like, oh my God, and I broke no contact. Like, and there's just too much in my brain. And I'm like, okay, well, that was weird and crazy. And then I look at Bear, and Bear is acting so weird. Like, his back was in a like permanent arch, and he wouldn't go in the guest room. And so my first thought is like, that's really weird. It must be a ghost. Like, what? Because I've had like a feeling that my house is haunted before, and I don't know. I was like, it must be a ghost or an animal. So I was like, well, if it's an animal, there's nothing I can do tonight. I'm not an animal control girl. I'm just gonna like go upstairs to bed. So I go upstairs, and I'm like, I'm like, I can't go to one of my friends. I don't want to wake up any of my friends. Like, I don't know their like sleep schedules. It's like at this point like 11:15 or something on a Monday night. I'm just gonna take a bunch of melatonin and try to sleep. I slept with the bathroom light on, and me thinking, again, this is a ghost. So I'm listening to like ASMR, like meditative sleep stuff, trying to like coax myself into sleep. But mostly I just felt like embarrassed that I called my ex, to be honest. It was like, what the fuck? Like, that's just so weird. I try to sleep. I keep waking up with like a weird feeling in my stomach, but I felt like it was a ghost the entire time. And I was like, I'm just going to make it through until the morning. And then at 3:12 a.m., I wake up to my phone loudly ringing, and it's my ex's name. And I was like, I must be like dreaming right now. Like, this is so random. And then all of a sudden I remember, and then I was like embarrassed. I was like, oh my God, she's going to think I'm like crazy. And I answered, and I was like, hello? And then we hear like a noise downstairs, and I'm like, in my head, I'm thinking like Bear is, because she was on speakerphone. I was like, oh, Bear must be downstairs running around having the zoomies. And by the way, when I was going to bed, he had the zoomies so bad, but now I'm not thinking that they weren't the zoomies. I think he was like freaked out, like his back. He was doing that thing, like he was just like running, but like to hide behind me, but his back was arched, and he does that sometimes when he wants to play. Like, he does similar things to that. So I just thought again that it was a ghost that he just kept like seeing, or that there was like a raccoon or like a possum or something somehow in. But now I'm thinking that doesn't make any sense. Why did I hear that noise? I don't know. And like, when you just want to go to bed and you're scared, you will think of anything like rational to explain away the irrational. So I just automatically assumed it was Bear, and I'm like lying on my side with the speakerphone on, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm sorry. Like, I thought that someone broke in, and I'm half asleep at this point, and I'm like, I thought someone broke in to my house, and I'm hearing like little noises in the kitchen downstairs, but me still thinking it's Bear Bear. And then she was like, oh yeah, sorry, it's like 6 a.m. here and I just woke up to your text. And I was like, yeah, sorry. And then I was like, I'm talking to my ex on the phone. Then I turn my body to roll around, and then I see Bear Bear laying next to me. And that's when I was like, oh my God. Something's in my house, because I was hearing things downstairs. So then I'm like, I'm like, oh my God, like something's in my house. And she was like, I heard that, like I'm hearing noises too. And I was like, yeah, Bear Bear's next to me. And then she was like, you have to get out of that house right now. Like you have to leave right now. And like hearing her say that, I was like, I know I have to go. Again, I'm still thinking that it's like a demon or something, like a very active ghost or a huge animal. Like, it sounded like ping pong balls were being dropped downstairs. I don't know what that noise could be now, but like that's what it sounded like. And I just felt, or like I was being like abducted by an alien, like something was in there. So I had packed myself a little go bag, because that's how scared I was when I was going to bed. Luckily, thank fucking God, I had a charger in there, I had my keys in there, and I get in my car and I leave the house. I go, and then the entire time my ex is on the phone with me, and I had been like, okay, like how candid do you want me to be? I had been hearing, like, you know when you go through a breakup and then like no one kind of like wants to tell you? I had just been hearing some sad things about the relationship that I was in from other people this week. So to be on the phone with a person that like you haven't talked to in, at this point, almost a month, but you're like mad at this person, it all goes away. Like when you're in a scary situation and you're like, I need this person to help me. Like at this point, I'm still thinking it's a little bit silly, but like you're just kind of just like, oh my God, nothing matters. I need to get out of this house. I kept my head down. I walk out the door. I get in my car. I don't see anything. I don't look up. I just keep walking, and I keep saying like, and I just left. And then I get in the car, and immediately I'm like, I left Bear Bear. And at this point, I still think it's a ghost, but my carrier for Bear Bear was in the guest room, which is like where the back door leads to. It was like my podcast studio. So like I couldn't go get his carrier. Like if it was, I guess, a person or like the demon was in there, like I couldn't. And like I still have guilt about that. Like I wasn't brave enough to go, but now I know that like saved my maybe life, me not getting his carrier. But still, like I felt sick that I left my cat there, and I still feel like sick because I'm just so lucky to still have him. Spoiler, like whoever robbed me could have left the door wide open for him to just run into the street or something, or they could have like picked him up and taken him, or they could have hurt him. So like I am just so happy to have you. Oh, sorry. So I leave. So I wake up in the morning. I call my ex again to be like, hey, that was crazy. And she was like, that was really crazy. Like we both heard the same sound at the same time. And I was like joking. I was like, damn, I broke no contact because of a ghost or something. So then I posted my Instagram story like, I'm scared to go back to my house. She let me stay at her house that night. She had left a key before she left for New York somewhere. So I slept at her house. I wake up in the morning. She calls me, and we were like joking about how crazy it was that we both heard that noise. And she's like, just go home, just make sure that, you know, it wasn't a person. But we were like laughing about the thought of it being a person. Like we thought it was a ghost. And so I stay on the phone with her until I like walk into my house, because I'm scared that like a possum like did a bunch of damage and like is gonna be like on the loose running towards me when I open the door. And I open the door, I unlock the front door, and I'm like, oh, everything looks the same, which is almost worse because I kind of wanted it to be an animal because I didn't want it to be a ghost. And I'm walking around, and then she's like, yeah, just make sure, you know, like all of your stuff is there. And I was like, what, you think I got robbed? I'm like, she was like, no, I'm just saying, like, just look for like your big things, like your camera and your laptop. And I was like, okay, well, my laptop's here it's weird, my laptop's not where I put it, but whatever. Then I like see Bear's okay. And I'm like, thank God. Literally, thank you, God. Thank you for protecting my cat. Or maybe he like ate the rat. If it was a rat, maybe he ate the rat. I go into the guest room, and that's when I see that my back door was open a little bit. Like there's a crack. And that's when I knew someone had been in there. And I said that to my ex. She was like on the phone with me still. And she was like, you need to get out. And she kept being like, or like, did you leave it open? And I was like, no, absolutely not. I checked 20 times to make sure everything was locked. I did not leave it open. She was like, look for your stuff right now. Like, do you see anything gone? And then I was like, she was like, actually, never mind. You just have to get out. And then I do find my find my items because I couldn't find my laptop. And I look on Find My Items on like Find My Devices, and it said that my laptop was at what looked to me like a hotel somewhere. And it said it was like 11 minutes away from my house. So yeah, my laptop was gone. I grab Bear's carrier, his food, his litter box, and my phone and my keys, and I leave again. And I go to my friend Patrick's house, and I'm like driving there, and I'm like, this isn't real. Like, obviously this is not real. Like, my laptop's gone. Like, and I don't know what else at this point. And my back door was open, and I'm driving right now, and I call my mom, and I'm just so confused. And I'm like, and also I broke no contact with my ex and like 22 days is a long time for no contact with someone that you dated for a year. Like, it's just like, and I slept at her house the night before. Like, then I'm calling my mom, and I'm like, Mom, I got robbed last night. And she was like, what? And then she just starts saying, she's like, what do you mean you got robbed? And then I'm like, I actually don't know. And then she was like, what's like, and then I was like, I don't have a my laptop's gone. And then she's like, she starts talking about renter's insurance. And I'm like, I don't have renter's insurance. I don't know what renter's insurance is. All I know is I used to kept getting these ads for like Lemonade renter's insurance, and I hit ignore every single time. She's talking about renter's insurance, and I'm like, I'm not sure if I should be driving right now. Like, I have a cat that I have to make sure I get to somewhere safely, and I'm in shock because that means that the robber was in my house with me last night. And I'm all of a sudden, she's talking to me about like asking me too many questions, and then she's like, what did the police say? And I'm like, police? And then she's like, you have to call 911. And then I remember my ex just kept saying, like, call 911, or not 911, but like the police or something. Like, that person could be in your house right now. And everyone's just saying these things to me on the phone, and I'm just like driving, and I'm like, who, like, when something like that happens, I was in shock, like, to the point that I didn't understand that it was real, where I just felt nothing, and I felt like a ghost driving my car, and I was like, this isn't real. I get to Patrick's house. The way that Patrick and my friend Kelly were like looking at me started making me be like, I think I got robbed last night. But I still didn't understand. They were like, you have to call the police. I'm sitting there with them. I call the police. The police say I have to go back to my house they're like, you have to go. We have to look through we have to do stuff at your house. I'm like, I have to drive again. I drive again to my house. My neighbors are with me, talking to the police with me, telling them what happened. We're getting the camera footage. And then we see, like, and then this part for me is blurry because it was a blurry, my brain isn't like recording things. All I know is I'm sitting in my neighbor's, the neighbor that checked my apartment to see if anyone was there. And no one was there when we looked. And I'm sitting on their floor, him and his girlfriend's floor, and they're giving me like stuff to like wash my face and like drink like a poppy or whatever. And I'm just like, And then we're waiting on the police, and then the police came, and then they're talking to the police about what happened, about what they remember, and then they're getting like the camera footage. So I look at the camera footage, and I knew who the guy was. It was the guy that I walked back. I don't know who he is, but it's the guy that I walked past on a bike with a backpack that said good night to me. So when I went around my house to look if my back door was open, he went the other way around, and we met in the middle. And we walked past each other, and I thought it was just a random man walking. Nope. And then the camera footage, we just kept getting new camera footage of him like scouting out the place. Not even scouting out, just like walking back and forth throughout the night. And he, from what I know, he came in twice that night. Once at 11:15 and once at 3:13 a.m. And my ex called me, and I looked at my phone logs at 3:12. So if my ex hadn't randomly woken up at 6 a.m. New York time and called me to be like, wait, are you okay? I don't know what would have happened. Like, it could have been so much worse. So I'm getting all of this information, and I'm like, oh my God, me and my ex are supposed to get back together. She saved my life. And then I'm like, and I didn't get robbed, even though I knew I did. But like, all I wanted to do, I didn't understand that what I was living through wasn't, like, I know that like the ex getting back together part sounds silly, but like, it's just so much easier to hyper focus on something that like I felt saved me, like the fact that she called me at 3:12 a.m. and the man came back into my apartment at 3:13 a.m. and that was the noise that both of us heard on the phone. And then he was in there with me. I didn't understand that really happened, and still sometimes I still don't understand that this really happened. I just kind of believed that I was living a nightmare, and for this to have been real, the way my brain was able to cope with it was that nothing was real. So I just kept sitting there and saying, again, this day is a blur. All I remember is just being on the couch and like I remember just saying the words over and over again, I don't understand. And again, at this point, I don't know if he took anything other than my laptop. Like, I don't know how long he was in there with me. I don't know if he was like hiding in one of my closets because we didn't look in my closet. I don't know how he got in. I don't know how he got into my house because all of the doors were locked. I don't know if it was a targeted attack, if it was like a stalker, because all he seemingly took was my laptop, and that had my hard drive on it. And I don't know if he knew me from social media or if someone tipped him off. I don't know. So for all of this to have been real, like in my head, it was nothing's real. Like the past 2 months aren't real. I'm back in time in my brain because I don't know how he got in my house. Like, I don't understand. I have video of him jumping over a fence, but I don't know why. And I don't know why I'm the only unit that he broke into. And I don't know. And I'm also just like, this is a nightmare. So I thought that I was like back in time and that my ex like saved my life and that we were meant to, like, I just was like, we didn't break up, and like I'm back in time, and all of this stuff that's happened in these past like a month and a half, 2 months aren't real. And like, because this is just so crazy that like this does not happen. So your brain, like it's weird what your brain can do, kind of. It's like nothing's real. And so then I'm like on my friend's couch, my friend Patrick, who had just gotten a puppy, and they're like my cat's sitting next to me, and I'm like, can't believe my cat's alive, and like I can't believe how lucky I am that whoever broke into my house. By the way, the weirdest part is the door was locked again the second time, which makes me think like the door was locked when I went to bed, and the door was locked when my neighbor checked to see if someone was in there with me, which is so weird. I don't know if he was in the closet. I don't know if he had a key to my house. I don't know if he was in the closet because we didn't look in the closet. Like, I don't know if I went to bed while he was in my house with me. So there's just chaos around me. Like, not even chaos, but like I'm just like sitting there and we're watching a movie together, and there's a puppy and my cat, and they're not getting along. And then I'm like, I have to go back in time. Like, I just have to go back to my ex's house. My ex has an empty house. So then I like call my ex again. And then because in my head, this is not real. We are not broken up. Everything's a nightmare, or everything's not real in my head. And so I call her and I'm like, I have to go back to your house. And she was like, something along the lines of like, that'll just be you're so confused right now. You don't like, you are just going to be more confused. And then, like, she basically was just saying, like, you have to stay with your friend. And I was like, that's when it kind of just started to hit me. Like, what happened? I started realizing that I was alone in LA. And I have a lot of friends, but, like, it's like, I'm not supposed to live here. That's like, I was like, I want to go home to, like, Ohio. And I guess, like, you just like romanticize like your ex, and you're like, they're gonna like, I remember our relationship being like, she was like protecting me and like she was like safe, and like, so for her to be like, you're just so confused, Becca, like, you shouldn't go to my house, like, don't go, you're not going to my house, like, stay with your friends. I was like, yeah, no, like, we're broken up and I got robbed. And then, like, it's just like, it just, that was just crazy. It's just kind of funny to, like, it's not even, like, it's just, like, it all just hit, that's when it hit me that night, was when she said, you have to stay at your friend's house. And I was sitting on the couch, and there was a puppy, and I have a cat. And I just, like, I know these just seem like small details, but, like, that, like, it felt like a nightmare, because, like, to me, getting robbed or like an emergency or something like that, like, I just thought, I kind of just wanted to, like, even though it's like not her responsibility, but at all, and like, sorry to my ex if you don't want me to talk about this stuff, but like, I was there too, so it's kind of my story too. I don't know, I guess it made me realize that, like, I got robbed and like I could have died. And so, and like, no, she couldn't have done she couldn't help me. And she didn't, or like, so I don't know. It's just like, I just wanted to go to like an empty house and be where I felt safe and like not have another animal there. And, I think it just like really showed me that we broke up, and it kind of just made LA, like, for context, I've lived in LA for 2 years and I dated her for the whole last year. So it's just like, she just is like, was my safety net kind of in LA for a year, half of the time I've lived here. So to realize that she's gone is like hard. But I know that we're not together anymore, and like, for the best. So I don't know. I just feel like it kind of was a wake up call. Like, you hear things about your relationship, your brain is like, again, cognitive dissonance. It's like, how could I be so wrong about someone that I loved? And then for this to be real, on getting robbed, I don't think that any brain is supposed to go through shock like that. So I spent a lot of those hours that day in shock, especially when she said that I would be confused if I went to her house as the days went on after that. And I was like looking for, like, I didn't, when I went back, like, it was just like, my neighbors helped me pack a bag there that day. I didn't remember what I had packed. Like, it was just like in a haze, and like, there was police in my apartment, and they like asked me like, why didn't I call 911? And I was like, I thought it was a ghost. I didn't know that I had gotten robbed. And I don't know. It's just crazy how like you can like gaslight yourself so much. And your brain, it's just weird when your brain like does weird things. So I moved, I like left. And I still don't know if that's all that the robber took, because I just haven't gone through all these boxes. But I just want to make it clear, like, if anyone has any ideas about robbing me, I have a security system now. And I'm not alone a lot. And I'm also just happy because my friend Nilu was staying with me, sleeping on like my couch. And that's where my laptop was that the man took. And that night, right before my acting class, she was like, I think I'm going to go back home tonight. I think I'm not going to sleep at your house tonight. And I was like, and she had been living at my house with me for like a week and a half at this point. And I was like begging her not to. I was like, no, please. I just like love Nilu and I just wanted her to live with me all the time. And she was like, no, I have to get my life together. I have to go home. If she had slept on that couch that night, she could have gotten hurt. She could have gotten killed. She listened to her gut instinct and went home. And thank God that she did that night, because that where she was sleeping was where my laptop was. So if she had been sleeping there when that guy walked in, who knows what would have happened. I'm so happy that when I was leaving, both times, I like put my head down and I walked out the door and I didn't look around, because I could have been traumatized for the rest of my life. That man could have had a weapon. He could have hurt me. And it's just like unnecessary trauma for me to have seen him. But just, I guess, just knowing that he was in my house with me for God knows how long. And I think I'm just like, I just feel like things in my brain are like different now. I'm just like, when something like that happens, you're just like, I'm happy to have my life and my cat. But like, I don't understand, I guess. Like, I'm sorry if you have to listen to my voice right now. But like, I guess I'm just like to me that was like, was that a sign to go home? And yeah, I think I just like wanted I want to go back in time and for nothing to be real. That like, it's just been the longest 2 months of my life. I guess just like one thing, like I don't like, again, I understand why people like find religion and like random things to cope, because like I'm just trying to find meaning in everything. And like I hated that apartment. Like I hated where I lived before, and I wrote down in my journal, I hope that I want my lease to miraculously break, and I hope it's nothing scary. I wrote something along those lines, and something very scary happened, and it did miraculously break. But I didn't mean to manifest that. That's the scariest thing that's ever probably happened to me in my life. And why do I keep this is my second time getting robbed. The first time at Coachella, that one wasn't as traumatic because it was just like my phone was in my purse and then the guy took the phone out of my purse. But I got saved the next day by like Raul, my Uber driver. And like I remember feeling like, oh God, like there was God or something looked out for me and like sent me someone to help me. And so I didn't feel scared after that. I felt like protected. And like I guess this time it just like felt like a shock that night. Like this one just feels a little bit different, where it's like like what like what was the point of that? I guess like I'm happier. I like the new place that I live in more than I liked my last place. But I don't know. I guess not everything has to have meaning. It's just like that really like scared me. And I wish that like I could, like whatever lesson I had to learn from that, like I wish I could have learned it in a different way. I feel like my podcast honestly is just so dramatic like all the time. But like I don't know. Side note before I forget, and like obviously this is so morbid, but if I just don't know how to make a will or whatever, I probably have to figure that out. If anything ever happens to me, I want, which is so crazy to like even say, but like really, I want this on record somewhere. So please, some of you remember it. God forbid, please nothing happen to me. But I want everything to like go to my niece Lucy and my mom. But I think that maybe the lesson I can find is to listen to my gut, because sometimes I like to ignore it about like a lot of things, and like I just want things to not be real. And my brain, I do have like cognitive dissonance a lot about a bunch of random things all the time. Even now, like that is something have been struggling with a lot lately. So I think maybe like something is trying to tell me that like listen to myself, because I knew that I wanted to get out of that house, but then I felt dramatic and I literally was gaslighting myself and like downplaying it to everyone, like my neighbor, and then like my ex was like, oh my god, sorry, that was embarrassing. And then like I'm just like, I'm so dramatic, like that's how I felt. I was like, I'm making up a ghost or something, and this time I wasn't imagining it. And I don't know if I'm ever imagining it. That's the worst part. Like I guess I just hate this because a lot of other times like I felt like scared every time I've like thought there was a ghost like watching me or something. Nothing ever happened. Nothing ever like physically scary happened. I was never in danger. It was just like a little bit creepy. And this time I realized that I technically was in danger. So it's just like, so I don't know. Like even now I'm like, am I being dramatic like this entire episode? I don't know. But yeah, and I guess like something like that, something like, I just feel like this has like altered my brain a little bit, and I feel like, I don't know, I just want to be like so honest with you guys now from now on. Not that I haven't before, but like I just feel like I gaslight myself on a lot of different things. I don't want this to be real. And now I know that I'm not like wrong or being crazy. And I just feel like the universe is like screaming in my face to be like, you have a good gut instinct. I'm so thankful to my friends for letting me stay with them over the 2 weeks while I was like looking for somewhere to live. And I am so thankful even to the man that robbed me for at least like closing the door enough for like Bear to be safe and not get out into the street. And I am thankful that he didn't hurt me, and I'm thankful that nothing has ever happened to any of my family members. Like, so I don't know, I'm just like really I think like the more I talk about it, the more I realize that actually happened, which is just like so annoying. And I haven't had a laptop for 3 weeks. I think I've been in denial. It's just crazy. If you guys have any questions, please let me know. I will answer. I could do more info and like the intro of next week's episode. Next week's episode is going to be with Gabby, and I'm sorry that this was a mess. I just feel like I'm like having a lot of emotions towards the world right now. Thank you guys for listening. Obviously, this has been a wild ride of an episode. I am exhausted from moving. I just haven't been sleeping very well. And safety wise, just a warning, general warning, I have a security system in place. Yeah, thank you guys for listening. My episodes are up every Tuesday. If you have any questions, please comment. Yeah, I guess lesson learned. I need to trust my gut instinct more. And welcome to my podcast. Stay tuned for this studio to be done. And I hope that I have happier news next week. Goodbye.